Okay, so we're going to see now one of the most, most very top level protection and how NetScaler can manage it. We have the buffer overflow exploit. So it's checking for buffer overflow is very simple. You can usually activate the block immediately. So before overflow, checking prevent attacks on insecure software in the operating system or web server that may crash or behave unpredictably when a data string is larger than it can handle. So proper programming techniques prevent buffer overflow by checking incoming data and discarding or truncating strings that are too long. So if NetScaler detects a request in a URL cookie are either longer than the specified maximum length, it blocks that request to protect vulnerable operating system of a web server. So this is really very known and it should be never been modified. I mean that overwriting value of the IP instruction pointer or base pointer and other register cause exception, segmentation faults and other error to occur. Usually this error and execution of the application in an unacceptable way. Buffer overflow occur when we operate on buffer on car type. So to protect again buffer overflow exploit, it's very simple, okay, because it will block immediately. So buffer overflow check prevent attacks against insecure operating system or web server software. So if web application detect a request with a URL cookie or either that is longer than a specified maximum length, just like I told you, it blocked that request to protect vulnerable operating system or web server. So you can go in the configure buffer overflow and you can block it and you can specify a maximum URL length, maximum cookie length, and maximum header length. The second one is SQL injection. So SQL injection will inject a code or command, LDAP query, SQL query, XPath queries program command. The database is the attacker ultimate goal. This is where valuable business information is stored. The web application is used as a conduit to the SQL database and has privilege to access the database. SQL injection are an attack against a backend database for which the application has not validated input files. This is a big problem. So NetScaler recognize keyword like select or select, for example, from account or a name like, and NetScaler will use transform action. We can also make relation rules for certain files, either a cookie if they are legitimate. So this is a big problem, okay, and it's very known, and really it's corporate information. So be aware about that. So how do you protect with SQL injection? So the check protects against SQL injection attacks by checking web form and URL for a combination of SQL character and keyword. So if web variable is configured to check for input that contain SQL special character, it skips web form files that do not contain any special character. Since more SQL servers do not process SQL commands that are preceded by a special character, enabling this option can reduce the load on web app firewalling and speed up processing without placing protected website at risk. So we can recognize it because if you do, like I told you, select and select are not recognized as SQL keyword, for example. So, you can say, I don't know, select, from customer where salary like, or select, payment card can be a big issue. So the SQL command handling file, okay, so we can determine how commands in web page are checked. And the available SQL command handling file setting are nc nested, and check all document. And how do you protect SQL? So you just have to go in the SQL setting, do block, and just check for SQL wildcard character, for example, and they can protect you. Uh, uh, okay, and remember that you can do SQL relaxation rules where SQL keyword may be prevent legitimately. For example, if the application offers an account called select checking, a relaxation may be needed. Relaxation is to bypass, of course. So the last one, not the last one, but the other one is something very dangerous. It's cross-site scripting. So use vulnerability in the browser rather than the site itself. An application should never allow a user to publish executed code or script. You can add code at the end of a line or in a pop-up. NetScaler can do a transform. So left angle bracket to HTML character entity equivalent, right angle bracket, for example, to HTML character entity equivalent. So this is a big problem. Okay, so how do NetScaler protect you against that? So web application firewall protect against code scripting attacks by examining script requests that can be used to compromise the trust relationship between a protected site and another user. When the firewall finds such a script, if either it either transforms the script before forwarding it to the destination or block the connection. So you can go in the cross-site scripting action and say if you want to block, stat, log are available, of course. Okay, so you can also do HTML cross-site scripting relaxation to not block, okay, for example, if it's legitimate, of course, a connection. So the other one is cookie protection. Okay, so cookie protection is a big problem also, because with cookie protection, you can try to find a solution. So what is cookie? So cookie consistency checking protects against cookie manipulation by verifying that user do not add or modify cookie return to a protected site. My best solution is to do encryption, of course. So if a protected website uses cookie that must be added or modified by user, admin can specify relaxation for certain cookies. So cookie consistency check examine cookies returned by user to verify that they match the cookie set by your website for that user. If the cookie has been changed, it is removed from the request before the request is forwarded to the web server. So this is a big issue. And cookie and tampering and poisoning defense. So it's prevent identity theft and session hijacking. So cookie tampering is another type of application exploit that is defined with a positive security model. Citrix Web Firewall prevents attackers from modifying server issue cookies to hijack sessions of legitimate user or steal user credential. So remember that you have session cookie and persistent cookie. So session cookie are stored in a temporary memory within the web browser and are destroyed after the browser is closed. They are not returned and are typically used to track session information for navigation. But the other one is persistent cookies, may be used to store information regarding user preference or selection for application purpose. So you can also use cookie encryption. Oh, sorry, it's not finished this one. So cookie encryption is very nice because you can, web application firewall, cookie encryption decryption engine, and application issue cookie for each client session. In this example, ADC will encrypt the value, for example, of my cookie with came in through the response. This encrypted cookie will have a system generator or user-defined post-encrypt prefix for differentiation. So you just have to go in the cookie consistency setting and you can do encrypt, for example, if you want. The other one is the file format check. Okay, this one can be a big issue also because this thing, it can be quite horrible. Um, so, so the advanced form protection check examine web form data to prevent hacker from changing your system by modifying your website web form or sending unexpected type and amount of data to your website in a form. It's work only with HTML, not XML. Any mismatch in the file type specification, minimum max length, cause the request to be blocked. NetScaler check file format type, integer, alpha, alphanumeric, and no HTML and any. So this can be a big problem, okay, because it's something that can appear. So the file format allow for restriction of file for length and other word character. So input validation on file help mitigate a variety of web application attack, including buffer overflow, form file manipulation, cross-site scripting, common injection, SQL injection, and weak password. So you can add some action and rules. You can add integer, alpha, alphanumeric, no HTML, and any. Okay, so you can block the action, you can log it, you can start, and you can learn, of course. And you have some predefined file type like integer here, like alpha, alphanumeric, no HTML, and 80. So this is some of the 5 type that you can, of course, use. So Citrix application form file protection is a good example of the positive security model in action. Many web applications use form to collect customer information and interact with user. Every form file is a potential attack vector. So hackers may try to inject malicious code or bad data. NetScaler will remember all value of a form served um, to a particular client in a given session. For example, you sell computer with different screen size. When users view the order form, a drop-down list of sizes is displayed. App Firewall will ensure that users do not create a new screen size or change the price. The price of your computer is hidden in a file on the web page called price, and the function checks that the hidden value is not modified before submitting the form. If you want to sell some television, you don't want them to be sold for not for anything. This is very important. We have also, of course, the URL protection. Okay, this is very, very known, okay, because URL protection is something that you must also, use to protect. So URL protection, it's used to prevent forced browsing. So it's a predictable resource location, file enumeration, directory enumeration, and resource enumeration. Forced navigation is an attack whose objective is to enumerate and access resources that are not referenced by the application but are still accessible. Let me see something. Yeah, sorry. So an attacker can use brute force technique to search for unrelated content in a domain directory, such as temporary directory and files, as well as all backup and configuration files. These resources can store sensitive information about web application and operating systems, such as source code, credential, internet network addressing, making them a valuable resource for intruder. So you can use by doing the start URL protection. We examine the list of unauthorized, authorized URL, whitelist, deny URL, or we block certain page. Okay, so this is really very important. So for example, let's say that you want to go on a website, and for example, the hacker will try to use slash password slash calendar slash all what you want, and he will try to go in each and try to find some hidden. For example, let's say you go on a website and maybe you do slash user slash forgotten password, or I don't know, reset password or password list, for example. So the user will try all the combination and will try really to do that. So a famous example was Facebook. It used to be user would log in and get URL with a lot of random character in it. Attacker discovered that if they kept entering a URL with random character, they would gain access to other account. So you can have the forceful browser attack. So manipulation requests URL to gain access to content that normal user are entitled to see. So you can start to use URL protection. Okay, so the start URL here, examine incoming request and block the connection attempted. The URL does not meet the specified criteria. So start URL are essentially a whitelist of accepted URL, and the primary purpose of the start URL check is to prevent repeated attempts to access random URL on a website. So you can use with the start URL list if you want. So you can start with a list, define URL that can be accessed, and after you can enforce URL closure. Okay. So URL closer is very, very powerful, because URL closer is a way that if a user tries to access a website directly without passing by the route, it can be blocked. And you can also, deny URL protection if you want. So the deny URL check, examine, and block connection to URL that are commonly accessed by hacker and malicious code. So a list of URL that are common target or of hacker or malicious code, and that rarely, if even, appear in legitimate request. Okay. So we can do deny URL, for example, here, like I tell you, you can do not allow user to access the image server, add the image directly, or here, this is already password, the thing that you don't want user to access, password, printer, and thing like that. Okay, this is very important. And you can modify deny URL check if you want. And of course, you can create URL redirection rules. Okay. So the other one is command injection. Wow. So command injection is an attack whose objective is the execution of command on the host operating system via a vulnerable application. Command injection attacks are possible when an application passes insecure user supply data like form, cookie, HTTP header to a system shell. In this attack, operating system command provided by the attacker are typically executed with the privilege of the vulnerable application. Command injection attacks are possible largely because of insufficient input validation. This attack differs from code injection in that code injection allows the attacker to add their own code, which is then executed by the application. In command injection, the attacker extends the default functionality of the application will execute system command without the need to inject code. So this is something, really very, very important. So you can have, for example, command injection attack. For example, if a user try to access a script or, or maybe at the end of the command type ls or type bincat or thing like that, okay? So it's parameter manipulation. This is really a big, big issue, okay? So the problem comes often from the, sorry, from the server misconfigured. So if a server is not configured correctly, it can be a big problem because you can have, a backdoor. Okay, so let's continue to do here. So we have the parameter manipulation. Like you can see here, the hacker sees that the following URL provide product description, for example, here. So the hacker manipulates the script parameter in order to recover another file. For example, the file could be new prod XML with proc.cg. The hacker manipulates the script parameter to attempt to recover the password file, like you can see here. Okay, so we have after the cross-site request forgery. Okay, so suppose you log into a bank, okay, and the login is stored in a cookie. So since the cookie is active, requests made from your web browser to the bank site will work because you are logged in. Now suppose that while you are logging in, you are chatting with me. I send you a link of a Wemsum cat video, but it actually links to your bank website and get parameters specified. I want to transfer all your money to me. If you click the link, you get request is sent. From the point of view of the browser, it is doing something perfectly legitimate because it thinks the request came from you, but it's really fooled into doing something for me. The web browser is the country's deputy, of course. So changing password, adding a secondary email. So you have a lot of technique here. So really the thing is that the attacker usually tricks the victim into changing the password, adding a secondary email, or various other techniques. Now we have the form tagging. Form tagging. So cross-site recursory form marking identify each web form signed by a protected website to user with a unique form ID. Then examine the web form returned by user to ensure that the form ID provided is correct. This check protects against cross-site request forgery attacks. This check only applies to HTML requests containing web form with or without data. This does not apply to XML queries. Okay, so when you enable form tagging, you must disable the integrated caching feature for all your web page containing forms that are protected by your profile using CSRF form tagging check. And that's it. Okay, so you can use you can configure that and you can do relaxation, of course, if you want to bypass some information. Now, how can you protect sensitive data? So you can protect credit card or things like that. So major credit card can be protected by using app firewall to search all respond for string of number matching those card model. If your application accepts credit card on your website, have access to database server containing credit card number, you must use data leak prevention measure and configure protection for each type. Application credit card verification prevent hacker from exploiting data leak prevention vulnerability to obtain your customer credit card number. Apply protection for one or more of the following credit card: Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express, JCB, or Diners Club. So you can just, protect it, and you can just replace all the credit card with X out replace. If you're using X out replace, the thing is that, for example, you can use X out and he will replace the number of all the credit card. So you can protect your credit card because you will not have any number, but you have the X number going to come. So it's going to be some security check about that. Now we have the safe object protection. So you can add other sensitive data information such as bank account number, phone, driver license. We can create expressions such as look for a stream that appear to be California driver license, which begin with a letter and are followed by a string containing exactly 7 digits. Okay, this is exactly the pattern here. So this is why you can use safe object. Safe object is very, very nice. So you can, find social security with the regular expression, using regex. Okay, so we just saw all the type of protection that you have. Okay, so remember that, for example, if I ask you what feature can be configured to prevent email address from displaying on a web page, yeah, it's save object exactly. So we're gonna start to do the lab, okay, and after the lab, we're gonna start um, to of course try to go more further on the monitoring and troubleshooting. Thank you.